Everything you call my personality, your traits, your tastes, the little that's just how I am you reach for, when someone questions you, you built most of it. You just forgot you were building. At some point the scaffolding came down, and you started calling it your soul. By the end of this, you'll be able to tell the difference between who you actually are and a role you've played so long it hardened into you. I'm not going to hand you a personality test. I'm not going to tell you to discover your authentic self. Just the opposite. I'm going to show you why those two things are part of the problem. For most of my life, I'd have told you I was just a private person. It sounded like a fact about me, like my height. It took me years to see it was a decision I made around 14 and never questioned again, until it stopped being a choice and quietly became a cage. There are 3 lies hiding inside the word personality, and each one cuts deeper than the last. The third, the one the self-help industry sells you as growth, is the one you'll argue with me about. I'll get to it. But let's start with what you were taught. Quick thing before the first lie, then I'll leave you to it. We're going to take down 3 of them, and they get worse as we go. The last one is something you probably did this year and called it self-discovery. If watching your own personality get taken apart, piece by piece, sounds more useful than comforting, subscribe. That's the channel, 3 times a week. And leave a like if you're willing to have one of your own that's just how I am lines questioned before this is over. Consider it volunteering. Okay? What you were taught. Here's the story you were handed, probably before you could question it. Somewhere inside you there's a real fixed personality, the authentic you, and life is mostly discovering it, then being brave enough to live it. Find yourself. Be true to who you are. Don't let the world change you. It's in the films, the graduation speeches, the therapy light captions. A self waiting like a statue under a sheet, and your only job is to pull the cloth off. It's a beautiful story. I believed every word of it. For years I thought of myself as an archaeologist, dig long enough, journal enough, take enough quiet walks, and I'd hit bedrock. The true me, under all the noise. And notice how total this belief is. We don't just think we have a personality, we treat it as the most important thing about us. We build identities on it, defend it, date and hire, and vote by it. The one thing we almost never do is ask where it came from, or whether the thing we're defending is bedrock at all, or just the oldest layer of paint. So let me take that apart, one layer at a time. The first lie is the most comfortable one, because it feels like loyalty to yourself. The first lie is this, that your traits are your essence, that I'm an introvert, I'm just blunt, I'm not a morning person. Describe what you are, the way I'm 5'10" does. Fixed facts. Bedrock. But look at what those sentences actually are. Everyone is a behavior you repeated so many times it stopped feeling like a behavior and started feeling like a border. You weren't born blunt. At some point being blunt got you something, respect, distance, a laugh, so you did it again and again until blunt stopped being a thing you do and became a thing you are. The trait didn't reveal you. Repetition built it. I said I'm just a private person for 20 years like it was my blood type. And that sentence was never a description. It was permission. I'm just a private person meant I never had to risk being known. I'm not really a people person means you never have to practice being one. The trait isn't a fact about you, it's a contract you signed with yourself and then lost the copy. Here's the tell. A real fact about you doesn't need defending. Nobody gets angry when you question their height. But question someone's "that's just how I am," and watch how fast they fight. Because some part of them already knows it's a choice wearing the costume of a fact. But that's the soft lie. The second one is more dangerous because it sounds truer the harder you look. The second lie is that you are one personality, a single consistent self you carry from room to room, the same in every setting, and any variation is just adapting. This one is more dangerous because it sounds humble. Be the same person everywhere. Integrity, right? But watch yourself for one ordinary day. The person you are in a work meeting, the vocabulary, the posture, the speed of your laugh, is not the person you are when your mother calls. Who is not the person you are with the friend who knew you at 19? Who is not the person you are alone at 2 in the morning, when there's no one left to be anyone for? I once heard my own voice change pitch the second my father's name lit up the phone. Say me? It didn't feel like adapting. It felt like a channel switching. So here's the question that should bother you. If you become a measurably different person depending on which room you walk into, which one is real? Most people answer fast. The one at home, the one with my closest friend. But that's not bedrock either. That's just your favorite mask, the one you're most comfortable in, the one you call authentic because defending it costs the least. There's no master version sitting behind the others, running them. There's a different mask for each room, and a story that one of them is the true face. And the third lie is the worst, because it doesn't even look like a lie. It looks like self-knowledge. Before I get to it, one thing. This one thing first. What you've watched so far, 2 layers of this taken apart, is the actual video. You don't owe me anything for it. It's yours, and the third layer is coming whether you do anything or not. But I'll be honest about the math. A video like this, no guest to plug, no product to push, no 4-letter label to sell you at the end, takes weeks to research and write, and it survives on almost nothing but the people who decide it's worth surviving. That's the gap. I can keep making these without a sponsor. I can't keep making them without anyone. So if it's been worth your time, there's a link in the description. Buy me a coffee, whatever it's worth. And if it's not your week for that, genuinely, no problem, stay, the rest is yours either way. Now, the third lie, the one you'll resist. Here's the third lie, and it's the worst because it doesn't feel like a lie at all. It feels like the cure. The third lie is that naming your personality is the same as knowing it. You take the test, you get the 4 letters, INTJ type 4, and something clicks. Finally, a word for what you are. You put it in your bio. You start explaining your whole life through it. I'm an INTJ. I don't really do small talk. You think you just discovered yourself. What actually happened is you were handed a more comfortable mask with a label sewn into the collar, and you stopped looking. I'm not standing outside this. Years ago, I introduced myself by 4 letters, more than once, and I thought it meant someone finally knew me. They didn't. They'd been handed a file. So had I. The problem isn't that you like a test. It's what the test quietly does. It takes the thing we just spent 2 layers loosening, that you're a fixed type, and bolts it back down, now with the authority of something that sounds like science. So let me show you the seams. Retake the most famous of these tests after 5 weeks, and about half of people get a different result. Half. Your supposedly core type, changing in the time it takes a houseplant to grow. If your blood type did that, you'd sue the lab. And yet this same instrument is the most popular personality test ever built, taken by millions a year, used by the overwhelming majority of the biggest companies on Earth to sort people into boxes. An entire industry whose product is a better decorated mask, sold to you as self-knowledge. That's the worst one. Not because the label is always wrong, sometimes it describes the mask pretty well, but because it ends the search. You stop asking, who am I under this? The second someone hands you 4 letters and calls it the answer. So if your personality isn't your essence, isn't one consistent self, and isn't the label you bought, what is it? That's where a Swiss psychiatrist walked into the question 100 years ago and named it exactly. His name was Carl Jung, Swiss psychiatrist, born in 1875, one of the founders of depth psychology. And he reached for an old word to name what we've been circling. He called it the persona. He took it straight from the theater. Persona was the literal name for the mask an actor held up to play a role on stage. Not a metaphor he dressed up later, the root of the word. Jung's point was simple and merciless. You need a persona. There's no living among other people without one. The self you bring to work, to strangers, to the supermarket is a mask. And that's not a flaw, it's function. You can't hand every raw, contradictory thing you are to the person scanning your groceries. The mask lets you move through the world. So Jung never said take the mask off, and that's where most of the internet gets him wrong. The danger was never having a persona. The danger is identification, forgetting it's a mask, mistaking it for your whole self. Jung said the persona feigns individuality. It convinces you, and everyone around you, that you're a particular someone, when half the time you're a role, running on its own. Wear it long enough and you lose the thread to whatever's underneath. The mask doesn't just cover the face. Given enough years, it replaces your memory of having one. Now, I made a whole video about the other half of this. This one is about how the mask became you. That one's about why you put it on in the first place, what you were so afraid of being seen without. Same mask, two halves. Watch that one after this. But knowing it's a mask isn't the finish line. It's the door. And what's on the other side of that door is not the real you you're expecting. It's stranger than that. That's next. Here's the part that took me longest to accept, because it gives you nothing to hold on to. You've been waiting for me to say, and underneath all the masks is the real you. I'm not going to. That's just the first lie in a hood, another fixed, authentic self to dig up and worship. There's no statue under the sheet. Pull the cloth, and it's masks all the way down. So if there's no true self waiting to be found, where's the freedom? Not in the masks, not under them, in the space between you and them. Let me make it concrete. The moment you can look at, I'm a private person, and see it as a role you're playing, not a fact you're trapped in, something shifts. You haven't found a truer person. You've created a gap, a half-inch of distance between you and the part you've been performing. And in that half-inch, for the first time, there's a choice. You'll keep playing the role most of the time, and you should. But now you're holding the mask, instead of the mask wearing you. That's the whole thing. Freedom was never a more authentic personality in the basement. It's the awareness that turns an identity you're imprisoned by into a costume you can set down. The introvert who knows he's choosing the quiet can also choose, tonight, to stay out. Same mask, completely different man holding it. The three lies all tried to weld you to a fixed self, your essence, your one personality, your type. The truth runs the other way. You are not the mask. You're the thing that notices the mask. And that noticing is the only ground in you that doesn't turn out to be paint. So how do you find that half-inch in the middle of an ordinary Tuesday? Smaller than it sounds, and harder. Smaller than it sounds because there's no program to run. You can't audit your whole personality on a Sunday afternoon. Harder because the one move that works is uncomfortable every single time. Here it is. When you catch yourself reaching for a "that's just how I am," and now you'll start to hear yourself do it, stop for 1 second and ask a different question. Not "is this true?" but "is this me?" or the costume I forgot I was wearing. You won't always know. That's fine. The point isn't the answer. It's that you opened the half-inch. For 1 second, you were noticing the mask instead of being run by it. Then, a quieter version. Watch yourself change rooms. Notice the you that picks up the work call, the one that answers your mother, the one alone at night, and don't rank them. Don't hunt for the real one. Just watch the masks change, the way you'd watch weather. You can't choose what you can't even see operating. And here's the part I have to be honest about, because it's the real test. The first time I deliberately acted against one of my traits, I asked someone for help with something I'd always insisted on carrying alone. I didn't feel free. I felt like a fraud, like I was doing an impression of someone else. And that fraudulence was the proof. You don't feel fake betraying your essence. You feel fake stepping out of a role. The discomfort was just the mask, complaining that I'd noticed it. But there's a way to do all this that quietly turns into a new prison. And it's common enough that I have to name it before you try. The first mistake is the one I made, and it's almost funny. You learn all this, you see the masks, and you build a new one out of the seeing. You become the guy who's seen through it all. Detached, knowing, a little above everyone still asleep in their costumes. I wore that one for a while after I first read Jung. It felt like freedom. It was just a more sophisticated mask, with self-aware stamped on it. The persona is endlessly clever. Try to escape it, and it will happily sell you the person who escaped as your next role. The second mistake is turning this into a weapon. It's all a mask anyway becomes permission to flake on people, dodge commitment, be cruel, and call it honesty. But noticing that your kindness is partly a role doesn't make the kindness fake, and it doesn't release you from being decent. Seeing the mask isn't a license to drop every good thing it was holding up. That's not freedom. That's a teenager who read half a Jung quote. The third mistake is the quietest. You take all of this and start hunting for the true self anyway, except now you call it the authentic me beyond my conditioning. Congratulations, you've rebuilt the third lie with better vocabulary. There's no final fixed self to arrive at. The freedom was the looking, not the find. Sitting with the question of who you are is for listening, not for moving in. So what does all this actually get you in real life? Less than the self-help aisle promises, and lighter than you'd expect. Lighter, but let me be precise about what you actually get, because I won't dress it up. You will not find a hidden, luminous, truer self waiting under the masks, ready to step into daylight and finally live. I'm sorry. That person was always a story. When I stopped hunting for him, I didn't find a deeper me. I found room, a little space around the roles I played, and it took me an embarrassingly long time to accept that room was the whole prize. The masks don't fall off. You'll still walk into work tomorrow and put one on, and you should. Nothing about your outside life has to change. What changes is your relationship to it. You stop being the prisoner of a self you never consciously chose. When someone says that's not like you, it stops landing as a law and starts sounding like what it is, a comment about a role. You get to disappoint an expectation on purpose, now and then, without feeling like you betrayed your own soul, because you know the soul was never the costume, and I'll be honest about the cost. This makes you harder to pin down, to others, and to yourself. There's a grief in it. You give up the comfort of "I'm just this kind of person," and that sentence was a warm place to live. What you get instead isn't warmth, it's air. Less certainty about who you are, and far less of the quiet suffocation of being trapped in it. That's the trade, not a brighter you, a freer one, with the lights a little lower. So here's the one thing to actually do with all this. So here's the one thing, not a program, one move this week. Take the line you say about yourself most often, the "I'm just not a blank person," the "I could never," the sentence that comes out automatically when someone invites you past your own edge. You know the one. It might be forming a defense right now. That's the one. And once this week, do the opposite. Small, low stakes. Not a reinvention, a single deliberate act against your supposed nature. Not a morning person? Get up once and watch the sun come up. Always have to be busy? Sit in a room and do nothing for 10 minutes. Don't do feelings? Tell one person one true thing. You're not doing it to change. You're doing it to collect evidence, to feel in your own body that the thing you called a fixed fact bent the second you decided it could. It'll feel like a lie while you do it. You know what that means now. That fraud feeling is the role objecting to being seen, not your essence breaking. Stay in it for one breath. That breath is the half-inch. You don't have to find out who you are tonight. You only have to catch yourself, once, believing you already know. Break the line on purpose, and watch a fact you'd have defended with your life turn out to be a habit you can put down. Start there. Here's my challenge, and it's the hardest thing I've asked you to do all video. Don't let this become another mask. The guy who finally understands his persona is just a new costume if nothing about you is different by Friday. So don't perform having learned this. Use it. Do the one thing once. That's the challenge. And if you want videos that take apart what an entire industry profits from, without selling you a label on the way out, to keep existing, that runs on the people who decide the rare thing is worth funding. Not a favor to me. A vote for it. The link's in the description, whatever it's worth. Then do something harder than a like. In the comments, name it. What's the one that's just who I am you'd be most afraid to test? Saying it out loud is half the work, and I read them. And send this to the person who introduces themselves by their personality type, gently. I'm back Monday. The mask was never the problem. You need it. Forgetting it was a mask, that's the cage. Go find the half-inch.